Aim up YouTube and welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. Today's video, I'll be going over my score predictions for the upcoming week of football. It is the final week in the normal season of non-league. We've got the FA Cup semi-finals, just some real crunch matches. It's really getting towards that end of the season where every game becomes massive for the teams who are involved in either relegation battles or in promotion battles or even title challenges. We're starting off with this evening's Premier League game of Brighton Hove Albion versus Chelsea. And Chelsea on a bit of a bad run of form, I would like to say. 4 game straight defeats now. I think if they lose again, I would have to say Liam Rosenior is not the right man for the job, and maybe in the off season bring in someone new. And you look at Brighton, decent run of form overall. I just seeing a 3-0 Brighton win all over this at the Amex Stadium as well. And that would actually see Brighton leapfrog over Chelsea into that Europa League spot as well. Very interesting. Coventry City versus Portsmouth. My dad is going to this game tonight. He is a Coventry City fan, and he said that it will be the game that will sum up the title for Coventry. And I can very much see that being the case. 10 points clear of Millwall with 3 games left to go. And over Ipswich have got a game in hand, so they've got 4 games at Ipswich. So mathematically, Ipswich can still catch Coventry unless Coventry win tonight, or even pick up a point tonight, I believe, which I think they will win this game. I've got 1-0 Coventry at home. Especially seeing Portsmouth, though, on a decent run, but I think they've just about done enough to get over that line to be declared safe at this point in proceedings. Leicester City versus Hull City. Leicester need desperately stuff to go their direction if they were to pick up the 7 points out of remaining 3 games to be able to stay up. And it's a difficult game up against Hull City. I know they're not in the greatest run of form, but they're in the top 6 for a reason. I have gone with a 1-0 to Hull City. I don't imagine our local rivals of sorts will do us any favours to try and get into the playoffs. We've got to face Norwich ourselves tonight, who are 5 points behind us. I would argue if we win this, we are within serious contention for the playoffs. If we don't, I would suspect it'd probably go to someone else. Goal difference-wise, we are the most superior out of the 3 from 6th to 8th. But, I mean, we're even on the best run of form out of them lot, so I wouldn't say never. I've gone with a 1-1 draw, though. I just got a feeling it's out at Carrow Road. I just can't necessarily see Derby getting a win, but I'm hoping to be proven wrong. And I do think Wrexham lose, and that is our next one. And this is what I'm hoping more against anything. Oxford desperately needs some results if their safety is to be confirmed. They're 5 points off safety. They have got a game in hand over Blackburn, so if they do win, it then closes a gap to that game in hand. It closes a gap on 47 and 49, so 2 points difference, and that's definitely a swingable amount. I think in this one, in the Cassim Stadium, I'm going to go with a 1-0 Oxford United win. See if they could do us a solid, giving us 3 points while taking 3 points off Wrexham would be absolutely huge. And I'll forever be indebted to Oxford for what would have happened. Queen's Park Rangers, this is Swansea, a nothing game overall. Point difference, mid-table mediocrity. 2-1 to Swansea. Southampton versus Bristol City. Southampton on a great run of form. They are actually potentially likely to get that second place. They've winning every week. They're streaking up the table, and I wouldn't be surprised if they manage to get second place out of what seems to be absolutely nowhere. Another win for Southampton, 1-0 to the Saints. They are doing great at the moment. They may have left it a little bit too late, and it may as a result mean that they get third place, but they have been fantastic. Stoke City versus Millwall. Millwall also will be looking to win this game up against a Stoke who are, not got much to worry about. They are mathematically safe at this period of time. So, yeah, I mean, I still think Stoke could maybe get a draw. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I just think Millwall do drop points against teams they really shouldn't do. But, yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if Millwall do win this one. West Bromwich Albion versus Watford. West Brom neither points much more than Watford. I mean, Watford haven't won in 5 games. West Brom are actually on a very decent run of form, all things considering. And a win here, I'd be content to say that they are safe. But, yeah, it's that points deduction about West Brom. It's always just been there, lingering, festering over then since it's been announced of will it be this season, will it be next season. So we just need to get wins, so that doesn't matter. And I've gone 2-1 for Baggies at the Hawthorns. I could just see them snatching the vital 3 points. Bradford City versus Plymouth Argyle. I mean, we know that Bradford are pretty much confirmed to be in the playoffs. They're 6 points into it, and they've only got 3 games left to play, so it would be quite difficult for them to drop out of it, and a win here confirms they will be in the playoffs coming into the season. Plymouth, however, they're 2 points outside the playoffs. Superior goal difference from over Stevenage, indeed, and if it goes down to it, that could be the decisive factor in the final standings. It's going to be an interesting game because I think Plymouth will be fighting a lot for it. I've gone, though, 2-1 to Bradford City, seeing them definitely into the playoffs, maybe even in that 3rd place. I mean, I don't think it gives a huge advantage necessarily, not compared to in the National League, but it is still a psychological boost. Doncaster Rovers versus Lincoln City. Well, Lincoln have been fantastic. They can enjoy potentially a trip to Spurs next season. What a difference that makes from playing up against non-league oppositions a little under 10 years ago to playing up against some of the biggest teams in, England and also arguably Europe. It wasn't long ago that Europa League was won by Spurs, of course. Over to Doncaster Rovers. I mean, it's not a lot in this game. They've done decent in the last few weeks, enough to push themselves confidently away from a relegation zone. Gone 3-0 though to Lincoln City, the unstoppable force at the moment. Rotherham United versus Luton Town. 3 points off playoffs for Luton. It's still doable. It's very much doable for the Hatters. They'll need to make sure that they win up against Rotherham, who are now, they've been mathematically relegated for a week or so now. And it's just going one direction in the South Yorkshire town at the moment. That's unfortunately downwards. It's never a dull day supporting Rotherham. I've had a promotional relegation season over the last 10 years. It seems like there's only been like 1 or 2 mid-table seasons overall. Yes, I've gone 2-0 to Luton Town in this one. Fairly routine win for the Hatters, as I was saying. Stevenage versus Barnsley. Conor Hourihane has been announced as he will not be the manager going into next season of Barnsley. Sort of understand the reasons why, but it could also be a bit of a curse in disguise. And I saw some fans alluding, saying, well, it means that they're not going to be able to get McGoldrick for next season, and a few other big hitters might be leaving as well. So we could see another slide for another South Yorkshire teams, and we could see Barnsley doing a Rotherham United next season. But that is next season's problems. Stevenage, well, they're definitely wanting to get into the playoffs. And all credit to them. I don't think many people necessarily expected them to be as combative as they have been this season. Gone 3-0 to Stevenage. A very good, decent team. Stockport County versus Mansfield Town. I've actually gone Stockport to drop points. I think you look at Mansfield and they go on a whole roller coaster of emotions if you're a Mansfield fan. I think that's fair to say. I've gone 2-1 to Mansfield Town in this one. I just think Stockport's unbeaten run will come to an end tonight. Cambridge United versus Grimsby Town. Another great game at the top end of the table. Cambridge in third by 1 point. I think they could still technically get the title. They've got a game in hand. If they win that game in hand, it moves them to 81 points, 3 points off the title with 2 games left to go. But obviously, the all-important thing is beating Grimsby, who are 2 points off the playoffs themselves, and would get into it if they win tonight. So a lot of things riding on this game in particular, and I have gone 2-1 to Grimsby Town. Could be a very interesting one. Keep your eyes peeled on that one, of course. Cheltenham Town versus Tranmere Rovers. Tranmere are in a tragic situation now, 1 point above relegation zone. You can't rule it out. You really can't at the moment. It's so hard to tell which team's going to stay up. And I've gone for another win for Cheltenham to make it 4 in a row. I've gone 1-0 to Cheltenham Town. Simple, very basic game, but I just don't see Tranmere doing great. They're joint worst defence in the league at the moment. It's just, yeah, they're on a horror show at the moment. Hartlepool United versus Southend United. Maybe a few weeks ago, this would have been an important game. Now we can pretty much confirm it's not, considering the playoff teams are going to be the teams. They've already been decided. The order hasn't of yet. If Southend managed to get a win in this, it then puts them 1 point off Scunthorpe United, so could see them getting home advantage if they leapfrog over Scunthorpe, which would be absolutely huge. Root Hall has always been a bit of a hard atmosphere. They've always had a good, strong fan base. Got 0-0 draw in this one, which would leave the door open for a last day of the season. Possibility of them jumping over Scunthorpe and not scrabbling up to Glanford Park, but you never know. Hereford versus Marine in the National League North. Hereford are just keeping it dragging on, and I actually do suspect they stay up now. I think they get a win tonight fairly comprehensively. Marine, they're a bit out of sorts. I've gone 4-0 to Hereford, filling them with confidence. And I think we do see the Bulls stay up overall. And Macclesfield versus Southport. Macclesfield will be hoping to end the season strongly. They can't get that seeded place anymore. That is gone. But it does mean that they will have to face the quarterfinals. But you want good form going into that. You know, a lot of the other teams are picking up a lot more points at the moment than Macclesfield are. So Southport lost a couple. Gone 3-1 to Macclesfield. Not too surprising of a result there, in all honesty. Bournemouth versus Leeds United. Well, Leeds we can pretty much confirm as safe, I would suggest. They're on a decent run of form as it is. 7 points clear of relegation zone. With only 5 games left to play, it's going to be quite difficult for Leeds to be caught up with. I've gone 4-1 to Bournemouth because they are actually on goal difference outside of the Europa League, and I highly suspect they would want to go to Europe. In all reality, I think you look at it, it's a huge opportunity. They'll probably need to expand their stadium sooner rather than later, but to claim that they're hosting European football, I mean, we saw that Areola is leaving. I can't remember. So he did say who was potentially going to replace him, but that remains to be seen for me. I'm not quite convinced. We'll have to see. Yeah. Burnley versus Manchester City. Man City going to win this. I mean, Arsenal had the opportunity last weekend to put quite a wide berth between them and Man City. Didn't do so. Against Burnley, just Burnley aren't going to win it. I've gone 3-0 at Man City. Easy wins. And that would see them go top of the league. Arsenal are actually going to bottle the quadruple. Birmingham City versus Preston North End. Nothing much right in this game. 14th versus 16th, same amount of points. I've gone 1-0 home advantage, 1-0 to Birmingham. Just think there's so many teams on 57 points at the moment, by the way. 12th place Sheffield United down to 16th place Preston North End, all on 57 points. And then Bristol City and Queen's Park Rangers on 58 points. I mean, this mid-table is an absolute joke. Charlton Athletic versus Ipswich Town. I'm actually going with a high-scoring 4-apiece draw. I think Ipswich go flying out with 4-0 up at half-time. Then they decide to just lay back, throw a load of kids on, and Charlton somehow come back and draw 4-4. Maybe not, but we'll see. Middlesbrough versus Sheffield Wednesday. I reckon a similar situation. Actually, Middlesbrough struggling to win now. I've gone 3-3. Sheffield Wednesday have had 3 draws in a row. And, well, if they can make it 4, it takes them to the final 2 games, and they'll just need to get 2 points from that, and they're no longer in negative numbers. I think that will be the key milestone that Sheffield Wednesday will be hoping for. So, yeah, 3-3 draw. Sheffield United versus Blackburn Rovers. Yeah, I think Blackburn desperately need the points much more than the Blades in this situation. I have gone with a 1-1 draw. There's been 4 draws in the last 6 games for Blackburn, so wouldn't be totally crazy to make that sort of prediction. Cardiff City versus Port Vale. I mean, if Port Vale managed to pull off the great escape, I will eat my hat. They are, by the way, 11 points off safety. They have got 6 games left. Not 4 games left to go. Just don't see it happening. They basically need to win every one of their games between now and the end of the season and hope Wimbledon and Exeter and Rotherham lose every single one of their games. It's not going to happen. All right. I've gone 3-1 to Cardiff City. If they beat Cardiff, right, it could well be on, but I just don't see them getting any points up against second place in the league. Salford City versus Bromley. Bromley are top of the league. Salford are 4th, though, only by a point as well. I think Salford may be viewing this as their season to finally get to League One. The class of 92 have spent a long time in League Two with this club, just being on that verge, haven't they? So I've gone 3-3 here. Very interesting end-to-end game. Bromley still got half an eye on the title. They have been confirmed, but they will be playing in League One for the first time ever next season, and potentially against Leicester City. So the differences between them 2 sets of facilities is quite something. Sunderland versus Nottingham Forest. I'm sadly going to have to back Forest for a win here. They've actually done quite well recently and enough to clear themselves of relegation bother, I would suggest. I've gone 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. I'm just more hoping the advance of Spurs getting relegated will ease my sorrows a bit in that. Leicester City versus Millwall. Maybe a last throw of a dice for Leicester. I've gone a 3-2 win for the Foxes. Both of these 2 teams do need points for Foxes versus the Lions. But yes. I've just seen a comment by Martin Ryan. Derbyshire Cup final tonight. Ilson could explode. I know, we're up against Glossop North End, aren't they? To be fair, when was the last time Glossop North End even did well in the Derbyshire Senior Cup final? Interesting fact about Glossop North End for you lot who are wondering why on earth I'm wittering about Derbyshire. They are technically the smallest town to have ever played in the top flight of football. They had the smallest population when they were in the top flight. I think it was 1899, 1900 season. We got relegated immediately after, but there you go. It's not just been Derby County who have a team in Derbyshire to have been in the top flight. Okay, Fulham versus Aston Villa. And yes, Villa are going to be hoping to... I think they've probably just about done it, to be honest. Got Champions League football for next season. Emery has done an amazing job with Villa. They were a sleeping giant for ages, and now they have been rekindled. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if further down the line they at some point do win the Premier League. They're up against Fulham, very mid-table side. I've gone 3-1 to Aston Villa. Liverpool versus Palace. I've gone for another disappointing Liverpool result as I've got Palace, who are on a decentish run of form, to win 3-0. They are certainly no mugs, are Palace. West Ham United versus Everton. I'm going to go a bit of a similar game that we saw last night for West Ham, actually. I've gone with another 0-0 draw for them. It's all right, because that will mean that they're 4 points of a relegation. 3 points of relegation zone, but you'd be expecting Tottenham to win, and they just can't buy a win at the moment. So it could really be an important point. To be fair, if Spurs can't win the game that they've got, what hope do they have? They're up against Wolverhampton Wanderers and have actually gone for a Wolves win. I've gone 4-2 for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They are 16 points off safety and have 5-point games to go. So I believe they are officially relegated, but I may have done the maths wrong. But yeah, I think Wolves are relegated now, just going to screw over Tottenham the season in spite. Arsenal versus Newcastle United. Well, Newcastle have lost 3 in a row. The cries for Eddie Howe to go out is growing louder and louder. We'll have to see what they do come the end of the season. But I've got to say, Arsenal need to win this one. So I've gone 1-0 to Arsenal, throw themselves back onto a bit of form, especially seeming Man City are playing in the FA Cup instead this week in the semi-finals. I think they probably play a bit of a weaker side. I think they want to rest a few players in this one. Won't be too surprised if that is the case. I've gone 1-0 to Manchester City against Southampton. But if Southampton do manage to claim their way through to the final and Man City lose against Burnley this week, we've got to start saying that Man City are bottle jobs. I don't care about Arsenal. You've got to start saying it's Man City who can't hold their nerves. Charlton Athletic versus Hull City. Charlton just about hovering above that relegation zone safety mark. They're on 50 points, which is normally enough to stay up, I would suggest. They're 5 points off relegation. I've gone 1-0 to Charlton, though, just to confirm it, and I need them to get a result against Hull so Derby can at least try and get the playoffs. Middlesbrough versus Watford. I've gone with Middlesbrough could actually have the capitulation of all time, by the way. They could actually fall out the playoffs. If they fall out the playoffs, is that the biggest bottle job we will have ever seen in the Championship? Let me know in the comment section down below. I've got a few case studies that I can also draw upon if you fancy having a conversation about it. Yes, I've got Watford to win in this one, 1-0. Middlesbrough's poor and a form to continue. West Brom versus Ipswich. I've gone a West Brom win because they're on a decent run of form and need the points. Arguably even more than Ipswich, although Ipswich will probably need them to try and get automatic playoffs. Both need them. Fine. 2-0 to West Brom. I'm not changing my prediction. Birmingham City versus Bristol City. Got a narrow, even 0-0 draw here. I just don't see this game is interesting in the slightest. Next. Norwich City versus Swansea City. I don't know if Norwich will still be actually within a shout at this point. They're currently 8 points off. There is a possibility if they win every game between now and the end of the season that they could throw their hat into the ring. Maybe in this one, that I'm going to say 5-1 to Norwich City to make it interesting if they have, at that point, still got an outsider's chance of promotion. Oxford United versus Sheffield Wednesday, and Oxford's blows are going to be hammer blowed out of here, as I think Sheffield Wednesday finally get out of the negatives and into the positives. I've gone 3-1 to Sheffield Wednesday, which, by my calculation, if my week's football goes into reality, we'll see them on 1 point and therefore on positive figures, and everyone will be much relieved because the side has never been relegated with negative points from the Championship before, and we will want it to remain that way. I've actually gone QPR to batter Derby 4-0. I just think we're just not quite good enough to be the playoffs this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a team like QPR. They always whack us around. It's always a horrible place to go. It's in London. It's not a nice stadium. It has a small fan base. It's just one of them ones that, as a Derby fan, just don't like going to. Loftus Road. Sheffield United versus Preston North End. Gone with a 1-0 Blades win. Not much in it. Not much riding on it. Stoke City versus Portsmouth. I know Portsmouth have been a bit of good run of form, but I've actually gone for them to turn off at this point in proceedings. They would have think it's been job done, and they would probably be right. 6-1 to Stoke City. Yep, 6-1. You heard me right. Doncaster Rovers versus Stevenage. Gone with another win for Stevenage. I'm quietly backing them to get to the playoffs. I've gone 1-0 to Stevenage. I just think they've got that outsider's chance, although they are currently 6th, so I don't know if you can consider that outsiders, but the outsider's chance, nevertheless, to get into the playoffs, rumble things up a bit. Stockport County versus Peterborough United. I think Stockport also get a win in this one. Peterborough ain't won in like what feels like absolutely donkey's years. 2-1 to Stockport County. Blackpool versus Leyton Orient. And I think Leyton Orient need to win this. Blackpool, well, we're pretty much safe now at this point, I would suggest. And I think Leyton Orient win 2-1. And that will be a big sigh of relief for the East End of London. Bradford City versus Bolton Wanderers. Bradford versus Bolton, 3rd versus 4th. Is it that important if they get 3rd place? I don't know if it is. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I've just gone with them to be all on as even, but just on a purely basic level, does it matter if they're playing 5th or 6th? I don't really think it does, to be honest. Burton Albion versus Exeter City. I've gone tragic news for you Brewers fans. You think you're safe. You're 6th. You're 4 points clear, and you're going to be thrown into a last day bit of jeopardy. As I've gone Exeter to win this one, 2-1, bringing Brewers to a last day of the season battle. It's got to make it a bit tense. Cardiff City versus Northampton Town. I think Cardiff will just play their reserves at this point. I think they've happy to see the season out against bottom of the league Northampton. I've gone 2-1 to Northampton Town, as I think they're basically just going to be playing kids. Because Cardiff will have nothing to play for. Northampton have nothing to play for. You know how it goes. Huddersfield versus Mansfield Town. Huddersfield could just about sneak it. They need a lot of results to go in their favour at this point, and it probably has been a bit of an underwhelming season in all reality. I've gone 3-1 to Huddersfield Town, just on the off chance that they could somehow get into the position where they enter the playoffs. Lincoln City versus Wycombe Wanderers. I mean, Lincoln may take their eyes as the ball in this one. I've gone Wycombe to win 3-2. Absolutely enthralling game for all involved. And finally, a decent win for Wycombe, which has been a bit of a while coming now. Luton Town versus Barnsley. Gone with another Luton win. Still got to keep it competitive till now in the end of the season. 2-1 at Kenilworth Road to the hosts. Plymouth Argyle versus Port Vale. Will, for this sake, give Port Vale the advantage that if they do win somehow their game against Cardiff, will back them to win this one and make it interesting. 2-0 to Port Vale. You never know, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Rotherham United versus Reading. Rotherham will actually start picking up form, ironically, at this time of the season. Reading have lost 3 in a row, and I've got Rotherham to win 2-1. End the season in a bit of a bang. Wigan Athletic versus Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon do lose this one. Wigan on 5 games unbeaten. Wimbledon just can't buy a win. I've got 1-0 to Wigan Athletic. If I was a Wimbledon fan, I'd be very, very nervous right now. I think you will probably be relegated, in all honesty. I think Exeter just stay up by the last day results. And I think, be tragic for Wimbledon, but I think it will happen. Grimsby Town versus Swindon Town. I've gone with a Swindon to swindle a win. I've gone with them to run out as 4-0 winners in this one. I mean, technically, they can get into the top 3. Only 3 points off it. Would be a bit difficult, especially with a goal difference, but it could happen. So yeah, we'll go boost and goal difference to Swindon and see it go to the final day of the season. MK Dons versus Tranmere Rovers. On MK Dons to drop points actually against Tranmere Rovers, because let's make it interesting. Both are battling for something. 1-1 draw. I don't think that'd be good enough for Tranmere, but we'll see. Crawley Town versus Accrington Stanley. I've gone Crawley to beat Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley haven't got anything to play for. I actually think they've been quite poor this season in large spells, but somehow have still got 52 points. I've gone 1-0 to Crawley Town in this one. It's always a low-scoring affair up against Accrington. Barnet versus Gillingham. Barnet still technically within a chance of getting in for playoffs. If they do, absolute scenes, it must be said. But 3-1 to Gillingham is what I've got on my sheet, and I'm not budging from that. Bristol Rovers versus Cheltenham Town in a local rivalry. And we know how local rivalries go. For 10 to end in a draw, 1-1 is what I've gone with in this one. I think it's much more Cheltenham which view this as a rivalry than Bristol Rovers, but Bristol Rovers haven't played Bristol City rivals in ages. Cambridge United versus Barrow. We'll also go with the points being shared in this one because both also need the points desperately. I've gone 1-1 draw in this one. I actually think it goes down to the last game of the season between Newport County and Barrow, who stays up, by the way. Chesterfield versus Crewe. Gone with a Crewe win. I'm sorry, Spyrites, but I just think that you don't fill me with confidence. You dash my hopes every season. 3-1 to Crewe Alexandra, who don't even kind of get into the playoffs anymore. It's all over for them. Colchester United versus Notts County. A silver lining is that Notts County aren't on a good run of form. And I think Colchester, can you make that carry on happening? 1-0 to Colchester United in this one. Newport County versus Oldham Athletic. Oldham, where was your... You were iridescent and glowing and looking so nice that you could just cause the upset of the season and get into the playoffs in obscurity, and then you've lost 3 in a row and you've gone back to being annoying. And not being a wild card that we were all hoping for. And I've gone 2-0 to Newport County, keeping it very, very interesting. Shrewsbury Town versus Fleetwood Town. Gone with a Shrewsbury win at home, 3-1 to the Shrews. Yeah, not a lot riding on that game, in all honesty. Walsall versus Harrogate Town. Got another point for Harrogate as well, because I think they're going to be dragged into that last day one. I've just basically gone with points all shared. Warsaw's downfall needs to be studied, but yeah, 2-2 in this one. Into the National League we go. Aldershot are now announced that they are parting company with Tommy Widdrington at the end of the season. Not Tommy Widdrington, John Coleman. At the end of the season. It's an understandable decision, I would suggest. They haven't been amazing this season. They're probably going to stay up by like 4 points, maybe less. But yeah, I mean, they are in for a massive, massive shock if they continue next season as they did this season. I'm telling you now, there has been some real strong teams in the National League North and South. Up against Truro, I've gone with a 2-2 draw. Yeah, a word for Aldershot fans. watch out for the next season. And also for Truro fans, actually, because they may think they might be able to make an instant return. I'm not so sure about that. I really don't know. I think they might get playoffs, but I don't think they'll be challenging for the title. There's a lot of good, strong teams in the National League South nowadays. And so promotion back at the first time of asking is not a given at all. Aldrincham versus Gateshead. Gateshead have found up the news that they are potentially getting new co-owners, which hopefully means that they knock down their horrible building of their stadium and build a new one. Because I think even Gateshead, actually I've spoken to a Gates fan before I came on air, and he said he doesn't like the stadium. So in that regard, hopefully it means better things coming for Gateshead. I have gone with another 2-2 draw, making that 3 in a row. We won't bore you and carry on with this, as we go over to Boreham Wood, who are probably going to have an even more boring game, as I've gone with a 0-0 draw in their game up against Sutton United. Although that's probably an unwise decision, considering they've not won a game in the last 5. But we won't dwell on that too much. Boston United versus Hartlepool United. I mean, yeah, again, a bit of a nothing game on it. Hartlepool can maybe end the season a bit with their heads held high. Gone 2-1 Hartlepool United, but certainly some work needing to be done in the off-season for the, is it T-side? Maybe base side anyway. As I think they really should be getting into the playoffs sooner rather than later. Goal scoring, though. You need desperate goal scorers in that club. They are like within the top 5 lowest scorers in the division. Or, well, it's not really something to be proud of, is it? For Carlisle, I've gone with a 1-0 win, taking that confidence into the playoffs. I think they might actually be a 4th for whichever team does finish second. I wouldn't certainly write them off at the moment. There's a lot of decent teams, and I think everyone's thinking whoever's the team which finishes second will automatically get to the playoff final and win it. I don't think that's quite true. Forest Green Rovers versus Morecambe. Forest Green Rovers, I think, are the team which is most likely to lose the playoffs. If I'm going to be honest, I'm a worse run of form out of them all. Yeah, I've got Morecambe to actually beat them in this. 2-1 to Morecambe. I just hope they don't carry on going through this trapdoor of just relegations and just carry on sliding down, because it's a dangerous pyramid. It really is. I mean, I'm going to just look at what happened to the teams that were relegated last season to the National League North. We had the 2 teams that were filed. I think we then actually got a different team going. Okay, so filed have gone straight back up, but that's because they're heavily bet. Okay, never mind. But what I was trying to find out there, because there was only one team relegated to National League North, and there was another one which they promoted Merthyr Town instead. But yes, Rochdale versus York. I'm going to stop faffing around because this is the only game in the National League which any of us have anything of remote interest in. We knew it was going to come down to this. We penciled the dates in our diaries for months on end. It's 2 points difference. Whoever wins this gets the National League title. 5 wins in a row for York. They're going in brimming with confidence. But there's also only been 1 defeat in the last 5 for Rochdale. It's just there hasn't always been a plain sailing. I've said all season York City to win the league. I've been saying that since right beginning. You can go back through the logs. Whenever I mentioned either York or Rochdale, I've always been saying, watch out for York, or York will gain it, don't worry. And I'm not one to be easily flapped. I don't care if it's at Rochdale Scotland Stadium. I've gone 2-1 to York. and York to make a long-anticipated return to the Football League. That's been so long coming. You know, if they get the win, they'll be on 110 points. A team like that should absolutely be getting promoted. And yes, Rochdale have also surpassed over 100 points. I hope for their sake they win the playoffs, because otherwise it would be extremely unfortunate. But in advance, if this comes correct, congratulations to York. You have been a joy to watch, and I'm sure you may even be able to get you'll certainly be competitive, I would suggest, in next season's League Two. Probably an outsider chance for playoffs, because there seems very little gap between the two in the 2020s. Scunthorpe United versus Eastleigh. I've gone Scunthorpe to lose, actually. I don't know why. It doesn't have much rationale to it. 1-0 to Eastleigh. Very tight game. Southend United versus Wealdstone. Southend actually carrying a lot of decent form, and if we remember what they did last season, they took it all the way to the playoff final and then just edged out and lost. But they're a decent team, and I think they could well do it again this season. 3-0 to Southend United. Southend are going to be the team that is going to be like the underdogs and somehow upset a lot of people, I think, this season. That's what I'm feeling. Tamworth versus Braintree Town. Tamworth to win 4-2. Woking versus Halifax. I don't care. 0-0 draw. It's nothing game for me. 4 draws in a row. Out of the last 6 games for Woking as well, which does sort of give a bit of justification to it. Yeovil Town versus Solihull Moors. 15th versus 16th. Does anyone care if they're 15th rather than 16th? I don't really think so. 1-0 Solihull Moors makes no difference. It really doesn't. Okay, we're moving on to another big game because we're moving down to a National League North. And I've been a huge fan of the National League North for many a season now. And there's 2 teams that I absolutely love to follow, and they're both involved within playoff within respective battles, rather. Buxton are within chance of getting the playoffs. They're certainly looking like, for me, the team which is most informed and ones which will probably be most deserving to get there. Alfreton, and go on, we're about to talk about 2 points off safety, up against Curzon Ashton, the team just above them in that dotted line. They also probably need Kings Lynn to lose. This is huge. This is massive. This is one of the most important games that every single Alfreton or Curzon Ashton fan will have seen within the last 5 to 10 years. I'm not even exaggerating, because both of these 2 teams have been for absolute years involved in the National League North, but have really been more the upper end of the table. And they've sort of faded away a lot recently. I have, unfortunately, gone with a 1-0 Curzon Ashton win. But I hope that while I'm out at Hebburn Town, which is where I'm going this weekend to try and watch them potentially lift up a Northern Premier League title, I hope that I'll be looking at the scores, and I'll be looking at the several ones. I'll be having the Derby score up, I'll be having my Buxton one, I'll be having my Alfreton one up, and I hope I'll also probably have SE United versus Hednesford up as well. I'll be hoping that Alfreton win this. And I hope I am proven wrong that I've said that Curzon Ashton will win. Come on, Reds. Bedford Town versus Scarborough Athletic. Bedford aren't yet out of the woods, but let's face it, they probably are. Considering the goal difference swing, I think even Bedford know that it'd be almost impossible for them to... Actually, because Curzon Ashton are playing Alfreton, it is impossible for Bedford to be relegated. So they can breathe a bit easy. It's not been easy season for Bedford, and I think a lot of them would rather have been playing in the National League South. I don't know if that will necessarily happen. It'll have to remain to be seen what happens with Merthyr and a few of the other leagues as well. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I've gone Scarborough, therefore, to finish in the playoffs. I mean, there's an odd chance if they draw that they don't, but it's very, very slim and highly unlikely. But yeah, I think Scarborough, I'm not quite prepared to back them enough to get to the next level, but it will be interesting. Buxton versus Leamington. This is your dream tie, Buxton. You're against bottom of the league, Leamington. They've been losing loads. You do not lose this game, right? I'm looking at you now. You do not lose this game. Any way, shape, or form, you have no excuse to lose this. If you lose this, then you have no credibility to be in the playoffs, right? I've gone for them to win 2-1 at home. I don't need to do the speaking. John McGrath will do that for me because I suspect Buxton will be in the playoffs. I might watch it and we'll have to see what days are on, but I could do a live watch along potentially of one of the National League playoffs. Various things we'll have to see because I also do go to non-league games in person quite a lot. So, but if it is on a midweeker, on like a Tuesday night, I might be tempted. Chester versus Kings Lynn Town. I think Chester get a point. They've got 5 wins in a row. Kings Lynn, though, also need to make sure that because they could also be relegated, by the way, because Hereford could also leapfrog them. So Kings Lynn will be vying for points here. I've therefore gone with a 1-1 draw. Whether that's enough for the Linnets, I'm not quite convinced yet. Because obviously I backed Hereford to win in midweek. So that would put them on 51 points. It makes it very tense at that point in proceedings. Chorley versus Worksop Town. Gone Worksop to win because they've been actually on a decent run of form. This doesn't really matter. I've gone 3-2 for Worksop Town, beautifully ending of the season, but yes, doesn't really matter. Darlington versus Oxford City. Oxford City can breathe their sigh of relief. They are now safe. Darlington, they're 1 point off the playoffs. So they're another team that could theoretically get there. And I'm sure where I'm living now in the northeast, that they hope results go their way so that they can be able to do it. I suspect not. I've gone with a 1-1 draw and another season where Darlington have just missed out on the playoffs. Them and Spennymoor are quite similar teams, actually. Hereford versus Peterborough Sports. Oh, it could be cruel sometimes, football. Come on, Peterborough Sports. You know, you've been on a rubbish run of form. You're relegated, but you've just got to do something to create a bit of drama, a bit of tension. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. Here's what I think will happen if I was to remove myself from the predictions I've just made. I think Hereford win in the midweek, putting them on 51 points. I then think they win again against Peterborough Sports. So that will give them 6 points, enough to have remained safe. 54 points long, head high and dry. I'd then want Alfreton to beat Curzon Ashton. And for Kings Lynn to lose up against Chester. That's what I will want to happen. And Chester on a good run of form, which I think most people would, on the balance of probability, have that happening. But yes, it's not what I got predicted, though, for my scores, unfortunately. My scores that I have got predicted will see 4 points for Hereford, which puts them on 52 points. I've got Curzon Ashton to have gained a win, so they will be on 54 points. And I will have a Kings Lynn to have been placed on 52 points. Goal difference wise, I will therefore have Kings Lynn to stay up on goal difference and both Hereford and Alfreton to go down. So fascinating. On to Kidderminster Harriers versus South Shields, which I think a lot of people will be looking at. Kidderminster have won 5 in a row. They're no mugs, and I think they might upset a bit of a party for South Shields because they're in second place, and I've gone for a 4-0 Kidderminster Harriers win. South Shields will then have to play in the playoffs and there's such a lot of dread and jeopardy with that. I also think, to make matters worse, I think Fylde do win 1-0 over Merthyr Town because I also want that to happen in order that Buxton get it a bit more plain sailing and qualify for the playoffs. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if it was South Shields versus Buxton in the playoffs on the last day? I'll book myself a ticket there. I'll get onto that playoff final and I'll be there absolutely 100% if that happens. I would throw this cup out that window if this happens. Radcliffe versus Macclesfield. I've gone Macclesfield to lose against Radcliffe. I don't care. I just think they're in a bit of an uncertain position because they don't really need to win many games because they know that they're going to be in the playoffs regardless. So I've gone 4-3 to Radcliffe. It's just something I've got a little bit of a hunch towards, that they're not going to enter the playoffs in the best run of form. Southport versus Telford, a bit of a nothing game, 0-0. Why not? Spennymoor Town versus Marine. Goal difference has meant that Spennymoor just aren't going to get into the playoffs. There's no way that they will ever be able to overturn a 26-goal difference. That will be the craziest thing to have ever seen happen in football. I've therefore gone 1-0 to Marine. On to the National League South, which is also an absolutely fascinating league dynamic at the moment. You've got probably only realistically 2 teams which can fight for the title. You've then got teams from 9th up to 3rd, all combating for the playoffs. Dorking and Hemel Hempstead, and teams from 2nd all the way down to 7th could also compete for 2nd and 3rd place. This is mental. The National League South does this every single year. It is a mental league. We're going to start with a game which doesn't really matter. Towton versus Farnborough. That doesn't matter. All the teams which are relegated from National League South have already been relegated, right? I've won 4-2 to Farnborough. It doesn't really matter. Bath City versus Maidstone United is one which sort of does matter. Maidstone are 3 points off the playoffs, but have a superior goal difference to both Ebbsfleet and Weston-super-Mare. So going into that is a healthy advantage. They've also on a very good run of form, 5 games unbeaten. Bath, they're loss, win. You get what I'm saying. They're a bit inconsistent, but they have really pushed on to a next level recently. And I think they're going to get a point. I've gone 3-3 in this one. So that would throw Maidstone out of the conversation completely. We've then got Chelmsford City versus Eastbourne Borough. Chelmsford have left it too late and now can't qualify for the playoffs. Maybe if a few of their draws of late were turned into wins, there would still be that possibility. That is no longer the case. I've gone 4-2 to Chelmsford City. We're up against bottom league Eastbourne. Doesn't matter. It just ends the season on a high. Dover Athletic versus Chesham United. I mean, Dover have been on a horror run of form, but they're all right. They'll stay up because they're 6 points clear of Bath, and it's on to the final day of the season. I'd probably change your manager. I would say that. I have gone 1-0 to Dover over Chesham for no other reasons than the love of the game. Hampton and Richmond Borough versus Enfield Town. I mean, Enfield have been pretty rubbish this season, let's face it. 4-0 to Hampton Richmond Borough. let's face it, means absolutely nothing. Hemel Hempstead Town versus Salisbury. Now, this does mean something. Hemel Hempstead in 4th, so I think quite likely to get the playoffs, although they do have the lowest goal difference of all of them in this position. There's also a possibility that they could get into the top 3. A lot of it hinges on this game. We're going to go with a 2-2 draw in this game. Again, probably not the best result for Hemel Hempstead in the world, but it will probably be just enough to see them get into the playoffs, right? Which is ultimately what they want. Hornchurch versus Maidenhead United. This is massive. This is huge. Hornchurch could win the title. Maidenhead could get into the playoffs. If Maidenhead lose, they don't get into the playoffs. If Hornchurch lose, they don't get the title. If Hornchurch don't even get a draw, even if Hornchurch get a draw, they don't get the title. If Maidenhead get a draw, there is a possibility that they do, a kind of strong possibility that they do get into the playoffs because of their vastly superior goal difference. I've gone 2-0 to Maidenhead. Alan Devonshire's men will just sneak over that line into the playoffs, leaving it very late. Horsham versus Chippenham Town does not matter. Right, I've gone 3-1 to Horsham. It doesn't really matter. Chippenham already relegated. Slough Town versus Dagenham and Redbridge. I severely suspect Dagenham and Redbridge do better next season. I will say that now. 3-2 though to Dagenham and Redbridge. But yes, it's a nothing game. And Slough being on poor form as well. Tonbridge Angels versus Torquay. Torquay are in 5th. They're in that splendid position that they could end up going from 5th to either getting into 2nd place or dropping out the playoffs completely. It's completely within their hands. So against a mid-table side in Tonbridge Angels that haven't got to face anything, I have gone with a 1-0 situation for Torquay United. Weston-super-Mare versus Dorking Wanderers. Dorking could get in top 3. Again, they're in that position. They're 3rd place, but they've lost 4 in a row, which is the worst form out of all the teams, and they could feasibly find themselves dropping out the playoffs in the last day of the season. Weston-super-Mare in 7th. They desperately don't want to lose this game because otherwise they will drop out the playoffs. I've therefore gone with a 1-1 draw, a very interesting game, but will it see enough for Weston-super-Mare to stay in the playoffs? That ultimately will depend on other results going on at that time. Worthing versus Ebbsfleet United. Worthing are title contenders. Now, their vastly superior goal difference means that they should be fine on that regard, as long as the teams beneath them don't get a win. Ebbsfleet need to make sure that they do get a win in order to stay in the playoffs. I have actually gone with a high-scoring Ebbsfleet to win 6-0 away from home. That does create an interesting dynamic. So we are going to quickly recap what that means. Hornchurch do not. So Worthing will get the title. They will be playing National League football next season. That is fine. So, and then I'm doing the maths live as we're going out here. Hornchurch will have dropped points, but it shouldn't matter too much. As Dorking will only have gotten 1 point, and Hemel Hempstead will have only got a point as well. So Hornchurch will be 2nd. Torquay will have gained the 3 points, so they will have overtaken Dorking and Hemel Hempstead to get into that 3rd place. However, hold up. Because the Ebbsfleet 6-0 win, Ebbsfleet will actually get 3rd place. Torquay will get 4th place. Then it will be Dorking, Hemel Hempstead. Weston-super-Mare only getting a point, and Maidenhead winning will see Maidenhead emerge into the 7th place. So that's your playoffs of the National League South. That's ridiculously how close that is. On to the FA Cup other semi-final. We have Chelsea versus Leeds. Chelsea on a bad run of form. Someone said, first of all, Worthing will win 3-1. If they win, then they don't need to worry about any other results in the National League South. But I just like to make things a little bit interesting in this channel. I've gone 2-2 between Chelsea and Leeds in this one because, Chelsea aren't on a great run of form, but I have got them to win in extra time or on penalties, so we'll make it to the FA Cup final. If Rosinha wins the FA Cup, do let me know. Does Rosinha keep his job, even though they'll be probably in the Europa League come the end of the season? Because Chelsea feels like haven't won silverware like that in quite a while. So it'll be an interesting one. Coventry City versus Wrexham. I'm annoyingly thinking Wrexham's going to win this one 4-3, as I think Coventry will be on the beach by that point. And then the final one, Manchester United versus Brentford. I've got Man United to win 2-1 over Brentford. They're in the Champions League spot for a reason. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe if you are new around here. Leave a comment what you think is going to happen, particularly involving the Rochdale versus York game and the games in the National League North and South that we went over between, especially Alfton versus Curzon Ashton, the other playoff contending, title deciding games as well. But I shall see you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.